Hi, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Full Out Cheer podcast. I'm Danielle Johnston, and I am your host for today's episode. If you thought I was going to say Fireside Chat podcast, boy, were you wrong. I did not do a whole bunch of takes. I got that the first time.
Job well done, lad.
Guys, if you have not listened to this podcast in a little bit, we have officially rebranded. And it was actually a really good reminder for me that I have to do an upcoming episode on how to rebrand in case that's something you've been considering in your gym. There's lots of different ways to do it, and I got to experience it firsthand right here on the Full Out Cheer podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see the different neon sign behind me no longer says Fireside Chat, but I am excited to give you the same great content.
Nice.
And if you're worried that Justin is never going to be on here anymore, he absolutely will be. However, things change over time and things evolve. In 2019 is when we first started our Fireside Chat episodes, and we were live on Facebook every Monday night. We would go live in front of our fireplace. We would wait until our kids went to bed, and the episode would start at 9 p.m. every night. Yeah, we just sort of winged it. And so I know a lot of you guys have been listening since then for 6 years. And in the last 6 years, things have definitely evolved a bit for us. Without going too far down this rabbit hole, but that's what we do here on this podcast. Our kids just don't go to sleep before 9 anymore. I have my youngest is in high school right now, and our other 3 have moved out, and we are definitely up later than we ever have been before. Sometimes we're still at soccer or cheer or football games or whatever it may be at 9 o'clock at night. And so just like you guys, where your life changes a little bit and things evolve, that is 100% what has happened with the Fireside Chat podcast.
Evolution.
I was really excited. I've been thinking, we probably need to rebrand this for a little while now. Finally kind of said, okay, we need to pull the trigger, because as much as I love Fireside Chat and I will keep my Fireside Chat neon sign and t-shirt forever, good things need to happen sometimes, and it allows more people to find this podcast and more people to learn more. And honestly, that's the goal here. Let's get people moving and grooving and growing their gyms. So thank you for joining us. I have got a really great episode for you. I'm kind of going back to the roots for the next couple of episodes here, and I'm going to teach on a topic. I know that we talk business so frequently, and I'm not talking business today, but I'm going to talk to you guys about some of the things that you need to be doing in your gym at this time of year. So you're going to be listening to this episode in about mid-August. Some of the things that are probably starting to happen around you are that kids are getting ready to go back to school. If you have kids of your own, you maybe are already looking at the school supply lists and buying the backpacks and buying the back to school clothes and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, parents in your gym are going to be thinking about it. In fact, our after school program, we do before and after school care, has seen a significant increase in the past couple of weeks because people are thinking more about back to school than they were in July.
Man, I hate high school.
Whether you guys go back to school, I think there's some areas that go back to school in the end of July down in maybe Texas, but for sure, I think Mississippi, Alabama, you guys go back to school so early. Or if you're Canadian, you're going back mid-September. So there's this 6-week period here when you start to see the back to school first day of school photos and stuff like that happening. In this episode, we're going to talk about open houses and the value of running those, even though they seem so antiquated. And then in next week's episode, I am going to talk to you about back to school, all the things you should be doing, and how to hijack that hype a little bit, because kids do get excited for back to school, and your gym has every great opportunity to capitalize on that. So let's get into it. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we were I see people doing open houses every so often, but they seem old and dusty, and people register online now, right? So why am I going to host an open house where we have to be in person and overstaff and all these things just to get the same registrations I'm going to get online anyway. But I trusted the process a little bit from what I was seeing, and I thought, let's give it a try. In Next Gen, we tend to make ourselves the guinea pigs quite often. So thankfully, my staff knows that we're going to do our best at something and we're going to test it before we ever teach you guys about it. Well, here's what happened. I was shocked that year, probably 4 or 5 years ago, when we ran our first open house and we got 26 enrollments that day. I couldn't believe it, honestly, because we have enrollment super easily accessible on our website 24/7. And honestly, it's a very user-friendly website. It's easy to understand how to get registered. My front desk is staffed 12 hours a day because of our kids camp. And so I was just super shocked that people would actually come to the gym and fill out a paper and get registered in person when it was so easy online.
People expect a personal touch.
As I've thought about this and kind of settled on it over the years, I honestly think that people just want that face-to-face interaction. Why do some people listen to podcasts versus read blogs? Because they like that feeling that I'm sitting with you in your car and we're having a conversation. And the more that we shift to social media and online things, the more that a group of people starts to feel disengaged and detached, and they want to go back in person for things. We learned 5 years ago that being in person has so much value, and you can just connect better with people and get a better gauge for what's going to be happening. And so when we offered this open house, I was truly shocked that people were coming to the gym that night just to learn about our programs and have those face-to-face conversations. Every year since then, I have continued to be utterly surprised at the number of registrations that we have. And I would say in the last 5 years, I think last year was maybe our lowest amount of registrations because we were doing some other back-to-school campaigns, but we still had 19 registrations that day. And so open houses absolutely do work. And I'm going to walk you through what that open house looks like at my gym so that you guys can do them as well and see the same level of success. So number one, make this feel like a big deal. Make sure that you advertise it like any other event. We put that ad out on Facebook. I don't necessarily pay to put the specific ad out every year, though some years I do. But we put it out as a Facebook event. We advertise it as if it's any other event in the gym, and we prepare for it. There's a group of people who are staffing the event. We have our front desk. We've got email marketing that's going out to try to get people to attend. I always create a Facebook event. In fact, if you guys are not using Facebook events, whether you get a lot of engagement from the event itself almost doesn't matter. I highly recommend using Facebook events because if you can start teaching people to click going if they are going to be attending, it helps you determine your staffing a little bit as well. So we run our open houses, and the reason I'm doing this before I do back to school hype, which will be the next podcast episode, is because I want you guys to be able to plan appropriately. So we do this about 2 weeks into school. So for us, if school starts August 22nd, we'll be running it about the first to second week of September. We run it during the week for my gym. So it is a little bit of a press on staffing. It's a little bit harder because it is a night that we do have teams going, we have classes going, our front desk is busy as normal. If you're thinking about this and you're like, well, I only have 2 or 3 staff members available, that's going to be really hard because they're already all coaching classes. Guys, I have been there. We have hosted open houses where it was literally me. I was the only one not on classes. And why was I not on classes? Because I got somebody to fill in for me. So really think about how you can do this. I recommend during the week if possible so that they can really get a gauge for what does it actually feel like in the gym. There's this element of social pressure that all these other people are in here and they're happy and they're watching their kids and the classes are full, and it creates an element of demand into the program so that there's not this slow trickle of yeah, I'll come back and we'll get registered in a couple weeks. It's man, those classes look full. We should do this now, right? And I do think if you host on a Sunday at noon or a Saturday morning, it's harder to get a gauge for what it actually feels like in the gym during regular operating hours. So if in any way you can run this during actual operating hours during the week, definitely do it. Create all the hype. Blow up balloons, put them up, put up decorations for it, get a big banner. And if you think like, wow, these are all going to be very expensive things, like a helium tank is not that expensive to get some balloons in your colors. When I say get a banner, we literally have a butcher block and Lexi like has painted back to school, happy back to school, whatever, or she'll paint on their open house with the dates. In fact, she's gotten really smart and she'll put open house on there and then she'll use like a construction paper or print out something that actually has the dates so that we can use that banner every year. And she just paints it in really cute, like font with some little elements of, I don't know, pencils or whatever on there. And so we have that same banner that can go in the gym every year. The other thing that I've started doing, because as Lexi's job gets, bigger and more important, and as those banners start to become less and less of her job, I have started to order on Vistaprint when they have a sale. I order those long banners that are like 5 feet long by 2 feet wide. And I put them up and I just put attend our upcoming open house. And then it'll say something like twistersports.com/open house. The website is the same every year. We can put a little paper on it that says what the dates are. And I've got those banners that just sort of rotate through the gym every 6 weeks or so. They're definitely more expensive. So don't feel bad if you just have to like print out flyers or put up a banner that you painted. Any of those things are fine. And if you're thinking like how unprofessional to paint a banner, no, it's actually super cute. And we do it for lots of stuff. So you don't have to overthink this and you don't have to do anything that's super costly. In our early days, we honestly didn't do anything that cost any money. Like you could go to the Dollar Tree and buy a couple of back to school looking balloons and put them up, or like blow up balloons and put them on a stick kind of thing. So if you're on a super tight budget, don't feel like these things can't still be good for you. You can go buy the crepe paper and decorate the gym. You can go to the Dollar Tree and buy things that are like back to school looking that you can use for open house. Make sure that you are staffing this to the best of your ability. So that's going to be my number 2. Staff. They are the ones that are going to make or break this event for you. It's really important that you have somebody who is focused on this particular event from the creation and ideation of the event through to the after action of it. Someone has to make this their baby. And I think a lot of times the owner is like, oh yeah, I can run this and I can be there. And it kind of becomes maybe last minute, or it becomes something that is like an afterthought because they're like, okay, I could kind of run something like this in my sleep. But if you think about it, the more effort you put into any sort of event, from the creation of it and planning and staffing and marketing and training your staff to the after action, all of the things that you do and you do with intention and strategy are going to aid in getting those kids in the gym. And that's the point of all this. If you do this and you get one kid, you probably like broke even or didn't even break even because of the extra staffing. But if you do this and you get 19 kids, like you're probably going to say, oh my gosh, that was a great ROI and I need to do this again. One of the reasons that I really like doing this during the week is because we have our classes going as normal. And so it's easier for parents when we're giving a tour of the gym for the parents to see, okay, this is where I sit. This is where my child goes. This is what kids are wearing. This is what the front desk is like. This is the vibe in the gym at this time of day. And so I prefer that because I want parents to, in some ways, know their role and know what the expectations are. The parents are not running out to the floor. And when you're at open house, you can see that the parents are kind of contained in the lobby area. You can see that it's a busy gym, but it's organized chaos because there might be 100 kids out on the floor at any given time, but like it's organized and coordinated. So really, really put some thought into each area of your open house. So what happens at ours is they come in the door and typically I'm the person who is at the front table. We set aside a separate table aside from our front desk so that our parents of the kids in the classes can still go up to the front desk and like take care of anything they need, buy water bottles and get Band-Aids and like all those things. And so we set up a table, and the table has things on it like brochures for our birthday parties and our class schedules and stuff like that, you know, a couple flyers for upcoming events. And what I have on there is a clipboard, and it has a spot on there where as I'm talking to the family, I can write down a couple of things so that the next person they go to already has a little bit of information. And so on that paper, I have on there the child's name, the parent's name, the age of the child, and the program they might be interested in. And then there's a little section for notes. And I talk to the parent and just get a little gauge for, okay, you know, what kind of program do you think she would enjoy? We don't do the like, okay, let's pick your class right now. It's just kind of the introduction to things. It's almost like you meet somebody for the first time and you're not going to ask them on a date right away. Like you have to warm them up a little bit and get to know them. So that's kind of that introduction. From there, they will get a tour. So in the past, when I had less staffing, I would be the one that then walked around and gave them a tour. Or actually Justin would do it, but then he would talk about like this 2x4 right here, and we moved this wall, and like the dads loved the tours, but the moms were like, okay, thank you for the construction updates. The next person that does it, we've even had junior coaches before give the tours. Like I would say back in the day, this is Allie. She's actually one of our junior coaches. She is a freshman in high school, and she's actually going to be giving you the tour today. If you have questions about any of the classes, most likely Allie can answer those for you. So feel free to ask her. When you guys are done with the tour, we're then going to do just a quick assessment to see where your child would place in whatever program you're interested in. I have this like clipboard with this piece of paper. I can then go hand it to Allie, who is giving the tour, or I can take it myself. And because I now know what program that person might be interested in, I can speak more intentionally to that program. So I'm not going to assume that a child's interested in cheerleading because I already have on a sheet of paper where it says maybe they're interested in ninja or in tumbling. And so we can speak more clearly to those things. If you're wondering like, okay, how do you give a tour of the gym if you have a really small gym? Totally okay. I have taught people how to give tours of gyms that are like 2,000 square feet. The point is you're taking steps, you're walking, you're showing them around, and you're creating conversation and asking questions. You're getting to know those people on a face-to-face level, which is honestly the purpose, because they've chosen not to register online where it's super easy and convenient. They're choosing to come in and get to know you first. So from that tour, they then are handed off to somebody who is doing an assessment. Again, if you're short on staff, you can do all these things. You just don't want there to be like a line of people at the front if you have, done an intake on someone and then you're giving a tour and now you're giving an assessment and the whole time the next person is waiting. So you do want to just be cautious of that. When we do the assessment, 95% of kids are in beginner tumbling if they're a tumbler, or they're in a beginner ninja class, or they're probably going to fit into novice cheer. All of those are fine, but the purpose of the assessment is that the parents can now determine, did my child actually even enjoy this? They have signed a waiver, they go out for the assessment, and it takes about 10 minutes. We just do things that don't require heavy warm-up. So like a forward roll or a handstand. And while warm-up is incredibly important, those are kind of things that you can safely do with just a quick couple of jumping jacks, wrists, ankles, neck, rotation of the limbs, and then the child can practice a couple of skills or work through a few skills with the coach. So the coach then takes that clipboard and makes a quick note of what level they believe the child would be the best fit for, and then that coach walks the family to the front desk where a front desk is ready to get them registered. Now, on open house night, if you anticipate that you're going to have a lot of people there, what you can do is you can say, we're going to do open house for ages 8 and below. We're going to do that from 4 to 6 p.m. And then ages 9 and up are from 7 to whatever. Just know that 1, the more confusing you get, the more people are just going to mess it up and feel like they messed something up. 2, if you have siblings, it could potentially deter parents because they don't want to come back twice and they don't want to be the exception to the rule. But there's lots of ways that you can sort of rearrange that if you're afraid that people, there's one of you and potentially 10 to 12 people that could be coming in the door. You could also get creative. Go over to, if you have iClass, create appointments. Let people create appointments every 15 minutes where you're going to do their open house assessment. And maybe that's the first part of the process. So lots of good things in there. If you have a small staff, you can still totally do open house and make it work for you. That final step is where, for us, they would get enrolled. They would speak with a front desk associate and get actually set up for a class. So they would do their registration. If you have laptops or iPads, they can do it right there. But our goal is to not let them leave the door without having registered. So if they're sold on the program and they believe it's a good fit, our hope is that they're not going to say, okay, I have to go home, talk to dad, and then get registered. We want to kind of close that sale right there. Every so often that does happen. And then they go on a list for us that the next day we follow up with them and they know we're going to call. We're like, no problem. Totally understand. Do you mind if we give you a call tomorrow at about noon and see what the best option is moving forward? That will help you guys a little bit to make sure that you are effectively hosting an open house. The big things here. Make sure that you have heavily marketed your open house. Think of it like any other event. You have to be cautious of marketing too much to your members and not enough to prospects. Post it in all the community groups. Put out email marketing to those who are prospects who are not current members of your gym. Tell your members, hey, if you have friends, make sure they mention your name when they registered at open house because we're going to do this referral bonus. In previous years, we've had this big back to school pack or whatever. You could do a backpack and a pencil case and t-shirt and school supplies, whatever. Or spirit wear pack with all your logo stuff on it. And maybe anybody who refers a friend who shows up at open house gets a ticket in there and you're going to draw at the end of the night. Whatever it is that you choose to do, the purpose of this is that you're marketing to the right people and your members can be excellent referrals for that. While I'm talking about open house for the fall, don't forget, there's so many opportunities. We've done open house in the fall. We've done New Year open house where the first week in January, it's almost like a second semester. If you played fall soccer or fall softball or football and you weren't able to get in programs because of that, we're going to do an open house again in January where you can come back and pick the right classes. We also do one for summer. We tend to get some enrollments, but we get a decent amount of kids for summer camp who are people just checking out what programs we have available for summer. So if you can get good at open houses and kind of get that system under your belt, you can open this up to have so many other options for open house as well and get even more kids in the door at different times of the year. We intentionally do this about the second week of school because if you're a parent and you have a child, the first week of school is going to be a little bit chaotic. You're still trying to get into the rhythm of things. Your kids still want to go play outside and be kids. And it is hard to start thinking about, okay, let's start nailing down what activities we're going to be doing for the year. So it's important that you're advertising early on, but I don't recommend doing your open house right before school starts because you're going to be competing with those meet the teacher events and middle school orientations and high school orientations, and you don't want to compete with those kind of things. I would rather compete with a random after school sport that just so happens to be a fall softball game. I would rather compete with that one activity than compete with all the meet the teacher nights, especially when you're talking a primary market of elementary school athletes. Okay, so let's talk about the final thing, which is open house has just ended. What next? There's two things that you need to do. The first is you have got to complete an after action report of some kind, whether you are writing yourself an email or saving a Word document or opening a Trello card, whatever it is, that says, here are the things that went well and here are the things that didn't go well. Here are the things we need to adjust for next year. Even if you got 0 registrations, I want you guys to complete that after action because when you do that, 3 years from now, you might look back at it and say, I picked a horrible night and that's the reason. It just so happens that it was Meet the Tigers and every kid in the district attended, the fall sports assembly. You might find out that your marketing wasn't put out early enough or more aggressively enough. You might find out that you just didn't have the right staff people. So maybe you had a whole bunch of kids show up and not a lot of people who got registered because you didn't have the right salespeople. But you've got to complete that after action. And if you're listening to this thinking, I've done an open house before and I got 2 kids, well, guess what? You're on the right track. You got 2 kids that you may not have gotten otherwise. And I'm telling you, for every kid that signs up in August who would have signed up in October, you have just increased your longevity with that athlete, because now they've paid tuition 2 extra months. You've got 2 extra months of getting them to build that loyalty and build that relationship with that family. Take everything as a win. If you got 2 kids, then you're on the right track and you just need to do a couple things better next time. So I want you to complete that after action report. The second thing is, if you guys have completed your open house and you had people who did not register, make sure that you reach out to them, phone number, email, something. When they signed that waiver, you should have gathered their phone number, their email, or any other relevant information. And maybe they decide, hey, we're going to do dance right now. But then 3 months from now, call them and say, hey, I know we met at the open house and you guys were doing dance at the time. Wanted to check in and see if that's still what you guys are doing, or if you might be interested in checking out our classes at this time. Consider using text messages. It costs a little bit, but boy, do you get a good reply with text messages. So guys, I hope that you guys have learned some good things in here, or if you already do open houses and they're super successful, that maybe you picked up a couple of tips. We do offer an open house guide that walks you through these things, gives you an event timeline, some marketing emails. It actually gives you the after action report and some of the marketing templates that we use for our gym for putting these things out on Facebook. If that's something you're interested in, you can get those over on our website at nextgenowners.com. You can click the Done For You packets and then go to events, and you will see right there the open house guide. And Lexi did just recently update that, so it is ready for you guys. However, if you don't need that guide, guys, I just want you to get that open house on the calendar, put a marketing email out, get a Facebook event going, and get that thing scheduled, because, you're leaving money on the table. You're leaving kids with no activities. And quite frankly, anybody with no activities is usually going to get scooped up by one organization or another. There's plenty of kids out there that are looking for something to do and their parents just don't know it. All right, you guys. Well, I hope you learned a ton. Thanks for joining us on the Full Out Cheer podcast. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.